Hey everybody, it's great to see you today. Today is July 13th, and this is Living Power, your online Bible study. We're walking through the Bible in a year. We're over halfway through, if you can believe it. And today we're looking at the Psalms of Ascent. And these are songs of pilgrimage because the Israelites travel to Jerusalem 3 times a year. And there are some differing thoughts on how these Psalms were used and what their purpose was. So I'd like to share those with you today. We are going to go through each psalm pretty equally, and then we'll wrap up. I won't say early, but maybe. We'll see. These songs of pilgrimage, 120 to 134, are really psalms of ascent. 10 of them, we don't know who the author is, and 4 are attributed to David, and 1 is believed to have been written by Solomon. They were designed for worship, and they may have been sung. They might have been sung on the 15 steps that led up to the temple, and it's possible that they would sing these on their pilgrimage, and each time they would just, musically how you raise the key signature a half a note or a note higher, so it's possible that they did that as well. The concept is that they're ascending, you're getting higher as you're going toward Jerusalem to see the Lord. But that's what we believe from Psalm 120 to 134. We're not going to cover all of those today. We just have a few of them. So we're going to start with Psalm 120 today. And I don't know about you, but I have a lot of underlining today. Do you? I just thought some of the ways that these verses are phrased were just so beautiful, and I'm going to share some of the ones that I liked with you. And I invite you to put on the comment today on the blog today what your favorite verse of the Psalms of Ascent are and why. So I'll invite you to do that. Let's start with Psalm 120. The psalmist is in a far-off land and is probably starting his or her journey. And I wanted to let you know about 2 places. In verse 5, it mentions distant Kedar and this place called Meshech. And I looked that up, and the people of Meshech were evidently a barbarous people that were living between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, and that's kind of a long distance there. And then Kedar, they were a wild tribal people in the Arabian desert. So it could be that this psalm is referring to the people who are coming home after their captivity because of the relation to the geography here. In Psalm 121, this is about anticipation of the Lord's help. Don't you love that when you're in a time of waiting, or you're in just a time of uncertainty, to read Psalms that talk about God's help being sure? Well, this is one of them. It says, He lifts up His eyes to the mountain on which Zion is built. And God Himself is His helper. I love that in Psalm 121. 123, we see suffering Israel wants and hopes for God's help. And then 125, we see a little bit about Mount Zion and mountains. Now here's the deal with mountains and why the Hebrews felt mountains were so important. To an Israelite, a mountain was symbolic of something immovable and unchangeable. So we see Mount Zion, they believed, was a mountain connected with a divine purpose. Mount Zion is the name that the city of Jerusalem was built on. So yes, it was a mountain, and Zion is Jerusalem. And it ends, let's see, what do I have here? Oh, this psalm here, 125, ends, "May Israel have peace." And in other places in the Bible, we're going to see where it says, "Pray for the peace of Jerusalem." And if you've not done that in a while, or not ever thought about doing that, that is a wonderful ministry of intercession. The Lord will hear that prayer, and He will answer that prayer. We will not see peace in that area in the Middle East in our lifetime because the Bible says so. It will take Jesus' second coming to establish peace in that land. However, it does tell us here to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. In Psalm 126, the pilgrims here on their journey, picture it with me, they can almost see Jerusalem. They're almost there. You know when you're on a trip and you're like 5 or 10 minutes away and you start really looking, maybe you're in the back seat and you put your book away or your computer away and you start really paying attention. They're getting excited. And it says here that God has brought his exiles back to Jerusalem, and he says it was like a dream. This was probably referring to after the Babylonian captivity in 586 BC when the people in Jerusalem were taken off captive. That was different from the northern kingdom's exile in 722 BC. But it just says, we were filled with laughter when we came back. We were filled with joy. And the other nations said, what amazing things the Lord has done. Those other nations, when it says other nations, that's us. That's the Gentiles. Even the Gentile nations were amazed at what was actually happening when they were coming home. So the remnant returns here to reestablish the nation. God always protects a remnant in his people. And he certainly is doing that in our day as well. Now here are some of the verses that I underlined. I bet you some of you underlined these too. Let's go back to 121, and it says in verse 3, he will not let you stumble. The one who watches over you will not slumber or will not sleep. Do you know God never goes to sleep? When you go to sleep, you can know that he is still working on your behalf. And he just never sleeps. I love 5, the Lord himself. Why did they put that word himself in there? You know, every word in the original translation is God ordained. And every word, if it's there, it's a very important reason for it being there. The Lord himself watches over you. He doesn't delegate that. He does it himself. I love that. I love continuing on verse 5, the Lord stands beside you as your protective shade. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. He keeps you from all harm and watches over your watches over your life. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and go, both now and forever. The Lord never sleeps. He is always looking out for you. And then the last thing I wanted to mention in Psalm 123, this is one to put to memory. And I just love this particular translation. Look with me in verse 2 and 3. It says, we keep looking to the Lord, our God, for his mercy, just as servants keep their eyes on their master. Now here's the best part. We keep looking to the Lord, jump down with me to the last part of 2, as a slave girl watches her mistress for the slightest signal. Are you that attentive to the Lord's work in your life? Could you say that you watch for him making the slightest signal as a slave girl watches for her mistress? Because a slave girl is responsible to almost anticipate the needs, but certainly respond obediently when a command is given. It implies a nearness of proximity and a relationship. So how about you? Could this be said of you? We keep looking to the Lord just as a slave girl watches her mistress for the slightest signal. When I think about that, it makes me think, am I really paying attention and not so much worried about praying my prayers for the things I think I need and the things I think I want in my life, but am I being anticipatory? Is that the right way to say it? Am I anticipating? Am I waiting? Am I watching for God to signal me when it's time to move? For God to signal me when it's time to take the next step, because he directs my steps, not the other way around. It's just an interesting way to think about that. Well, we are going to end here under 10 minutes today, so I'm going to go ahead and stop and tell you that we will be very soon back in the book of Isaiah, and there is a lot to learn and to see there. Isaiah is an amazing book, and I'm really excited. I hope you are too. Well, blessings to you. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson today. Until we meet again, shalom.